Welcome to episode 030 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It is April 15th, 2024. I'm here.
Ravenheart's here.
And that's just us today. No special anniversary episode, even though it is...
It is our 30th.
Another milestone episode.
Definitely.
But basically anything in multiples of 5 is a milestone.
Pretty much.
So we don't have a huge amount of stories to talk about today, which is fine, but we do have some stuff we want to discuss prior, so let's jump into that. Have you been playing much of anything?
Yeah, so being back into development, I'm playing even less than I was before. Did fire up Final Fantasy 15 this past week, just to finish off some more of the side quests.
Okay.
Nothing super notable to really talk about.
That's fair, yeah.
It's just generic hunts and stuff. And then I just spur of the moment I put Azuna 2 in. Azuna 2?
Azuna 2.
Yeah, so it's a DS game.
Okay. Tell me about Azuna.
It's a dungeon crawler. It is basically Mystery Dungeon before Mystery Dungeon.
Oh, okay.
It's
Is it first person dungeon crawler?
Dungeon crawler roguelike, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I think roguelike is what I meant to say.
Okay.
No, it's top down. It's just like it's Mystery Dungeon.
Well, Mystery Dungeon goes back to like the 90s in Japan.
Oh, you're right. You might be right.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head what team did the Azuna franchise. But it's basically...
Is it like... Does it seem like a Japanese developer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It absolutely is.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's monsters and stuff. And, generated levels.
Okay.
With floors.
Right. Okay, sounds like Mystery Dungeon.
It's literally just like it.
Okay.
You can't store every item in the game like you can in Mystery Dungeon. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, there's Kangaskhan, who handles the storage in town, and it's all sorted, and you can hold infinite, 900... I don't remember exactly how much. I think 99 of each item.
Okay.
In this game, it doesn't do that. You can hold up to, I think 50 items in the storage, and then it caps. So that kind of saddens me, because I like to collect, every item in every game and stuff. But it's, similar combat. It's more kind of top-down hack and slash combat. But you do have projectile weapons and stuff like that. I think you can use up your weapons if I'm remembering right. I played that maybe 30 minutes this week. But it's a game that I started a long time ago.
Okay.
But yeah, it is Mystery Dungeon,
okay,
same kind of gameplay.
So I looked up a little bit of information about the Mystery Dungeon series real quick while you were talking about that. The first release was in 1993 with Torneco's Great Adventure, which is actually a Dragon Quest game.
Okay.
Or a spin-off, I should say.
Right.
And it's developed by Chunsoft.
Right.
Who were the original developers of the Dragon Quest games. Now, Enix was the publisher, but Chunsoft was the actual developer of the games.
Gotcha.
And yeah, have you heard of Shiren the Wanderer? It's kind of like the main...
I haven't.
Okay, so it's kind of considered the sort of the main Mystery Dungeon game in the series. Obviously, the Pokemon games probably have sold more than any of the other Mystery Dungeon games.
Right.
But Shiren the Wanderer is the sort of core series behind the Mystery Dungeon gameplay at this point.
Yeah.
And I knew Shiren the Wanderer game just came out maybe last month. And it's getting really, really good reviews. It scored it's over a 90 something on Metacritic for a super niche like Japanese series.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that the Mystery Dungeon games still continue to.
I bet if you looked into
well
Azuna and the developer behind it, you'd probably see a bunch of crossover, either with
since I'm here, Azuna for DS.
Yeah, IZUNA.
Oh, IZ.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is riveting podcasting going on
here.
here.
Yeah, I know. We're looking stuff up on.
Okay, so it was published by Atlas.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
But it was developed by a company called Ninja Studio. They were known specifically, mostly for their mobile phone games, but they did have Azuna the Unemployed Ninja series on the DS.
Yes.
Okay, well, they haven't published anything since 2010, so,
No.
Oh yeah, their offices closed, yeah,
Okay.
Unfortunately. It was acquired by Namco Bandai Holdings. Interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. Anyways, yeah, the Azuna franchise. The Unemployed Ninja, that's
The
right. That is the
Ninja.
Subtitle.
That's kind of a cool...
It is like unheard of, kind of unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Yeah, I had never
really
heard
good
of it
games.
ever. I'm guessing you probably saw Atlas as the publisher and were like, okay, buying it.
You're probably right, but it was so long ago that I bought that.
Uh-huh.
I probably back when it came out. But yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, yeah.
That was how I thought back then.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
Atlas? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
But yeah, Azuna and Azuna 2, go check them out on DS if you like the Mystery Dungeon type gameplay.
All right. Okay, so I just got back from a trip, which I'll talk about briefly in a little bit. But so I haven't had much time to play until this past weekend, really. Mm-hmm. I was able to get in some solid hours with Cyberpunk. I finally broke down and purchased the expansion, cool. The DLC expansion, Phantom Liberty.
I'm glad you did that.
I did. And, I had been waiting for a sale,
mm-hmm.
but it just would not go on sale. But lo and behold, the day after I purchase it,
mm-hmm.
it goes on sale.
Of course. Of course it does.
So, a little bit of clown makeup, I had to put on the next morning, but...
that stinks.
But, it was like $5, so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that. And you know what? I got Cyberpunk when the game was, like horrifically trashed.
Yeah.
And, copies were going for, $5-10.
Right.
So, I don't want to feel too bad because I think they deserve all the money for that game.
I pre-ordered it.
I know you did.
I got the pre-order bonus.
I remember how excited you were.
Yeah. Well, because I played it on PS5, I didn't really have...
experience it that much.
There was stuff floating in the air and stuff, but there wasn't, game-breaking graphical issues.
I'm more and more seeing less and less of a reason to buy AAA games
when they come out.
One,
yeah.
Just because there is often so much patching
mm-hmm.
and additional content that comes out.
The game's never finished.
It's not done anymore. Yeah. They're not finished anymore.
Right.
So it's why bother with AAA games on day one? Just wait.
Yeah. There are reasons to do it, but it's not every title, that's for sure.
Yeah. I feel like
stuff that is going to be limited might be a reason.
Sure.
Stuff that have really good rewards for pre-ordering it.
Okay.
Or I'm talking GameStop pre-orders, figurines and plushies and stuff. Or there's in-game content that you can get on day one or something like that.
And they do that a lot. There's usually the pre-order content, they give you some digital, you get an exclusive outfit for your character or something like that. And I know for you're very much if I'm a fan of the game in particular, you want to have that stuff. And that I have been got by that too before, definitely. No doubt.
Right.
But I do find myself less and less tempted by that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, but just basically if it doesn't come from Nintendo, I pretty much, even then there's been a lot of examples of Nintendo doing a lot of DLC and updates post-release. But like for a recent example, like Super Princess Peach or the Princess Peach game, Princess Peach Showtime.
Right.
I doubt that's getting an expansion.
Right.
You know, that game is probably
finished.
I mean, maybe there was like a small patch when it,
Sure.
on launch day just to clean up some little bugs, but there's nothing else coming to that game.
Right.
You know,
as far as like hard content.
Watch me eat my words.
Right.
In like 6 months.
They could do that, but I don't know. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I also feel like, because I buy less games than you, like, throughout the year.
Right.
If I see a game that I really am like, I'm going in on that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be there. I want to be there in front of GameStop, picking up my pre-order.
Yeah, there's less and less games that they do that for now.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like just being there in the morning?
Yeah, just when they open with my GameStop.
I wonder what the last midnight release at GameStop was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They stopped doing that, right?
They might still occasionally do it for like maybe something like Pokemon, like a kind of a
new console or something.
Oh, a new console for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is a lot less of that going on than there historically was.
Right.
Especially now too, because they have permission on the West Coast to sell games at 9 p.m. too. So I mean that's like a huge benefit of living on the West Coast.
Yeah, right.
Or I used to consider it a huge benefit back when midnight releases were a thing.
Right.
It's like, all those guys gotta wait in the cold.
Yeah.
I get my game at
We
9.
get our games 3 hours early.
Technically the same point in time across the planet.
Right.
But like, it's only 9 o'clock. I can stay up even longer playing it, I actually do really miss those midnight or 9 p.m. launches.
Those days.
Yeah, I think the last time I did it was for one of the Destiny expansions.
Oh, okay.
I think the second Destiny expansion. Or maybe it was when Destiny 2 came out.
You bought it physical?
Yeah, they used to do these like modest collector's editions.
Okay.
That weren't like these huge gargantuan things with
for DLC releases?
Yeah, for the expansions too. They would do like a nice modest collector's edition.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and you would get like another physical copy in the game that was like rebranded with like the DLC on the case and the disc and everything.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Was that like the full game plus the expansion that you were getting? Or just like the update disc?
No, it had like the full game on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that there was anything additional. Because it was a live service game, Destiny, like there was just patches every few weeks,
Right.
So... it's not like it was like complete on disc or anything like that. It was just the full game with like a voucher code inside, I think, to unlock the DLC.
Gotcha.
Because most DLC, the DLC is already patched into the game. Yeah. And you just unlock it effectively with that code.
With your code, yeah.
Now, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, you actually download a 30 gig like expansion for the game when you buy the DLC. Right. It's not pre-baked in with the like version update. Right. Which I appreciate, because if you don't own the DLC, why should you have to put 30 gigs of your hard drive set aside for a thing that you don't even own?
Yeah, you can't access. And there's also knowing that you have the data, but you can't access it because a code of freaking value is blocking you.
Yeah, literally just a little 1 byte, not even a byte thing, just saying unlock for player,
Yeah, I think that became a controversy. I think the first game
Resident Evil, right?
I think it was
on PS3.
It was a Capcom game.
Yeah. I think it was Resident Evil 5. Yeah. Like there were like DLC things that were just literally unlocked with just like a code. Yeah. Like, you weren't downloading any data. Right. It was already baked into the game. Yeah. You were just and that was like the first time a big publisher had seemingly ever did something like that for a game, and now it's just common practice.
Right. They probably weren't the first, but they were their first ones to like get noticed.
Yeah, get in trouble. Yeah. Or like for the press and players to like be upset about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, now it's the norm, and people just, I don't know, like there's some players who just gulp that up. Yeah. Like, to them, it's like, oh, that's great. Yeah. I could spend $5 on a hat for Chris Redfield. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. of digital goods. That old discussion.
Yeah, unless like the costuming is like a major aspect of the series. Like, is it like part of the gameplay somehow? Like, if I was playing a fashion game,
Yeah.
and like like okay, so it's like this $10 purchase unlocks 20 new outfits for the game. Well, it's like, well,
Right.
okay, like
Okay, fighting games,
okay, here
like
you
that's
go.
a big reason.
Players get tired of looking at the
Yeah.
same character all day, so
Well, my favorite costume pack I ever bought was from Mortal Kombat 11, and it was the movie, the 1995 film costume set.
Yeah.
With like where they like got the original actors to like scan their faces and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I bought that.
I mean, that makes like if they're actually going through like big development effort to like include something like that, like it doesn't make sense for it to be in the game naturally.
Like Christopher Lambert's face is in the game, like on Raiden and stuff. That's crazy. But yeah, best costume pack ever, in my opinion.
I think what players have a problem with is when something feels like it should have just been something that could have been like an unlockable, something that used to be an unlockable in a game.
Yeah.
Now you're paying for those unlockables now. Remember when games had cheat codes?
Right.
Now like games charge for like cheats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's I don't
know. This is a whole part of like the going away of the old, like the old stuff that we appreciate in games, that going away in favor of live service, digital download, charging nickel and dime, that kind of stuff. Games aren't the same anymore.
No.
It's been that way for a while.
Yeah, we're old men yelling at cloud right now.
Yeah, it's crazy how old we feel.
But back to Phantom Liberty real quick. So I started I finished the DLC. There's 4 endings for the DLC.
Oh yeah, I think you talked about this.
I did, yeah. And then there's a fifth. One of the endings leads off to a new ending for like the whole game overall. So I experienced 2 of the soft endings for the DLC, and then I did the hard ending for the game overall. So technically I have finished Cyberpunk.
Okay, right.
In that sense that I've reached like an end,
Right.
But I don't really count it, and I wasn't super happy with how everything played out in that ending either, so I'm definitely not making that like my canon ending for myself,
Right.
So
because that's a thing.
Well, like I made a save to deliberately explore the endings of this DLC.
Right. Yeah, you want to see all the endings.
I want to see them all, and like Anyways, so the DLC, I won't talk about the endings, but I mean they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just really freaking good. You have to make some like really tough moral decisions. People you kill, like just all kinds of crazy things going on.
Yeah.
And there's like sort of branching paths even through like you kind of choose to like ally yourself with someone near the end of the game, but then you could possibly also betray them, and they reveal things to you, new information that you get like right at the last second.
Yeah, right.
Like just totally affects how you feel about characters and things.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. I've never been through the story again. Yeah. We talked about that. I haven't
really experienced anything story-wise.
I've experienced all the combat. I've got myself like way up there in level. Yeah. So I have all the skills and all that. I'm accessing areas you're not supposed to access at this point. But I'm pretty sure that decisions can make characters a friend or enemy. Later on and down the road in the story.
But the DLC, that's true, definitely. The DLC itself, the area you get access to, I thought it was just going to be like another city block, but it's actually not. It's almost kind of like an openish area surrounded by like buildings around it.
Okay.
So it's got like a very different, unique.
So is it like a district? Like
it's called Dogtown, and it's basically like this district that was undergoing something at some point, and some kind of rejuvenation. And this military guy basically settled in there, walled the city off, and made it his own little kingdom.
Okay.
And so you're prompted. I'll briefly set up the DLC. This Netrunner, which is like basically Cyberpunk's version of like a mage, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Because
they're doing like tech magic.
Right. They're
I guess you could kind of say.
accessing the systems and stuff like that.
Yeah. She reaches out to you out of nowhere and basically tasks you with saving the president of the new United States of America, the NUSA, as her ship Space Force One crash lands in Dogtown.
Okay.
And that kind of sets off a chain of events where you meet multiple characters.
Massive spoilers.
No. This is literally like the This is like the pitch for the game. Yeah, or the DLC. I'm not spoiling anything. This is like the trailer for the DLC. All right. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, you go do that. But anyways, I was really surprised about how the area looked. Because, like, it's almost like it has a biome. Okay. Like it's like its own unique biome compared to the rest of how the city looks.
Its own biome?
Yeah, I'm trying to put it in a way where it's like, you have the desert, you have cities, you have like some areas that look a little more suburban.
Oh, okay. Style.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking about it as like an open world game, like with like Pokemon. There's like different sort of like biomes,
like a sector.
Yeah. Okay, so the sector of the game.
A biome refers to like pools of something. Like,
does it?
Yeah.
I thought a biome was like an environment, like a natural sort of environment,
like an ecosystem. But it refers to like fauna or like the organisms within.
There are plants and things growing in this area.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's cool because there's like museums that are abandoned that you can like go in and stuff, and there's like but there's no dinosaur bones. They're all like holograms of dinosaur bones. It's really. Anyways, it's just it's been great, and I'm not even done with the DLC. I still have 2 more endings to explore, and then I have to go finally do the main endings of the base game.
Right.
But I'm prepared to like put Cyberpunk 2077 in like, I don't know. I might want to say top 10 games I've ever played.
Really? Yeah.
If not top 10, top 20.
I mean, it is. It's great.
I'm enamored.
Yeah,
with
it is a great
like,
game.
It's like I cannot wait for a sequel, which is no doubt 5+ years away.
Oh yeah. They haven't even talked about it.
No, they're making a sequel. They've announced.
Okay.
It's being made in the United States. I think we previously talked about this.
We might have.
It's like somewhere in like Massachusetts or Boston. They've set up a new studio there.
Okay.
So anyways, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, great expansion, great the cast. I mean, they got like some.
How long would you say the DLC takes?
I've probably sunk just going to the one hard ending. Probably put me at 20 hours.
Okay.
And I'm trying to do all the side stuff within the DLC area too. Right. And it does add a few new gigs and things outside in the main city too. You're not exclusively held into like the new district.
Right.
You do go out of there at points of the story.
So it adds content beyond.
It adds some content beyond the walls of Dogtown.
Right.
I won't say anything. But what was I going to say?
Phantom Liberty.
It's great.
What?
No, I was going to say something before you asked me a question.
Sorry.
That's all right. I forgive you. But just Phantom Liberty, it's excellent. Oh, no, we were talking about the time. So, about 20... I don't know. By the time I'm totally done with it, because I know after you beat it, there's a couple final gigs that unlock in the Dogtown area.
Okay.
So I need to do those gigs. I'm going to suspect I'll probably have put 25-30 hours.
Yeah, gigs are not quick. sometimes.
Not necessarily, yeah. Sometimes they're brief, but the gigs are typically more involved than I think the side jobs are.
Yeah, they are. They usually have like whole story segments.
Yeah, there's a whole story to them. And yeah, like the writing is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The actors are fantastic. There's this one scene where you're at like this swanky party and you're just like having a conversation with someone,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like, I don't know, the facial capture and like the voice, it got like almost too real for me.
Really?
Yeah, like I was just like blown away. It had this very sensuous vibe to like it, just like having a conversation with someone. Like it made me like feel things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, it was it's something. Yeah, and then yeah, the game was just constantly making me go, what the F? What the F?
Yeah.
Like, just like with the twists and turns. And Idris Elba, he was the guy I told you should play Ganondorf in the Zelda movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, famous actor.
Yeah.
He is a huge character in the DLC. They kind of got him to sort of be like the other big name alongside Keanu Reeves.
Celebrity appearance.
Yeah, but Keanu Reeves is still a huge presence in the DLC.
Okay.
So he came back into the studio and recorded a lot more stuff for the DLC.
That's cool.
And I want to give a shout out to Keanu Reeves. Not that he needs it.
No.
But this might be the defining performance of his career.
The world won't agree with you, I think, at large.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. I'm sure he might feel that way too.
He acts his ass off.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah.
There was, during the new ending to the game, there was this moment where you're having a one-on-one conversation with him, and I got like choked up.
Yeah.
I never thought Keanu Reeves would get me choked up.
I know
people don't respect him typically as like a actor,
right?
You know,
his delivery in movies and stuff, even in the John Wick movies, you can still see Bill and Ted in his delivery, you know, and so he's kind of known for that. Yeah. Do you see that at all in Cyberpunk?
I mean, he sounds and looks like Keanu Reeves, so you're always gonna like hear and feel that a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. God bless Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
100%.
So anyways, I don't know that I'll talk about Cyberpunk again. I still have I'm gonna try to finish everything by the end of this weekend.
Tell us at least, the last part after you play it.
Okay. Maybe I'll do one final, because my plan is this weekend to be like platinum trophy.
Yeah.
Done with the game.
Gotcha.
Like, we'll see if I get there. I might need one more weekend to do that.
It might surprise you with some stuff.
Yeah, because there's like 5 endings I gotta explore from the main game, and I want to see them all.
Right.
So, and then I gotta figure out which one I want to be like my ending. I ultimately kind of like make a hard save on.
Personally accept.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you mean.
Like, if there's some kind of like save data import in Cyberpunk 2,
there's a whole discussion to be had here.
Okay, let's not then.
But I'm just gonna say, like, I do like it when a studio does have a canonical ending, or maybe they reveal what the canonical ending in the first game is in the sequel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is a whole huge can of worms you're talking. Because like, there are some people who are hearing what you're saying going, F that. Yeah. They need to respect the ending I chose in my game.
Right.
Like, the Dragon Age games are known for trying to incorporate the player's story from the previous Dragon Age game into the next one.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes that has mixed results.
Yeah. But that could only have mixed results.
Because they choose to respect every player's personal playthrough, it makes it really challenging for them to like bring some characters back and things like that, you know?
Right. And that development cycle has to be way longer just for that.
If I had to wager a guess, I would presume that Cyberpunk 2078 or whatever they call the sequel will not take place in Night City. It won't deal with the character of V, the main character of Cyberpunk 2077. I think it'll be distinct. There might be some, I could see them maybe doing some kind of save data import and maybe looking at some like minor side quest or something that you chose and throwing in some Easter eggs for you.
Sure.
But yeah, I suspect that it'll be largely detached and won't like worry too much about what players did over there.
Yeah.
Although there are some crazy implications, like just even in the DLC where like I could see it having large ramifications on the world that Cyberpunk takes place in, period.
Right. I mean, there's no way a sequel is going to have no references.
Yeah.
To the original story. But, if it's that far removed, like from the world of the first, then I can see them just forget, it never mattered really what ending you chose.
Yeah.
That's fine, I guess. But, I don't know. I still like to see
Yeah, I mean, you do see that sometimes game publisher says, sure, our game had 5 different endings, but this is the canon one.
This is what happened, actually.
You risk alienating and upsetting your players when you do that.
I mean, they need to accept that sometimes they're wrong,
But I mean, it's like you gave the player these options.
Right.
And now you're like taking away all but one of them.
Which brings another discussion in, is multiple endings logical? Is it a logical move?
I mean, I've played games that have multiple endings that then somehow like all
come together,
merge into like a single ending somehow.
Right.
That usually involves some kind of timeline, time travel, jumping around kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense when you have multiple characters,
right?
And they each have their own ending. That makes sense because they can all happen.
Right.
Well,
I'm thinking of what's that visual novel that I got you for Christmas a few years ago?
Oh, Raging Loop?
Raging Loop.
Yeah, that's
that kind of has.
Oh, that's such a good game. Oh.
Might be Rick's favorite Christmas present I've ever given him.
Of the games, I can't remember them all.
I don't buy you games too often, but yeah, I knew after having played it myself, I was like, Rick's gonna like this. And that was a game that took me by surprise too.
Yeah,
Raging Loop. I had no idea what I was in for.
Yeah.
I don't even think I had finished.
Here we go talking about Raging Loop.
That's okay. We don't have that much to talk about story wise. But Raging Loop, great visual novel. And it's one of those games that I think has like multiple paths and endings, but then you kind of...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You go through basically different endings that all culminate into the same final event, basically.
But you have to see everything before you can get there.
Now, that Raging Loop did it pretty well. Very well, I think. That has mixed effects, too.
Sure.
Mass Effect 3 did not go over well because they tried to do that.
Yeah.
They tried to give the same ending, but players felt like, I'm given all these choices
and nothing I did
and nothing mattered.
Yeah. Just the color of the explosion was different.
Yeah. At least they did that. But
that was like huge. Like people were like really upset at BioWare over that.
Right.
Like the culmination of 3 epic crazy games.
Yeah.
And ultimately nothing mattered.
Yeah. But I respect it in a way.
Sure.
Maybe I haven't even I played a bit of the first one.
I've only played through Mass Effect 1, and I've only played through it once.
Okay, yeah.
I played that last year, actually.
I didn't even finish Mass Effect 1, but I did play it. But I don't know, from a concept perspective, that seems all right to me, because that says, here's how it ends. Mm-hmm. There's no question about who, what, I mean, it doesn't invalidate everything that happened prior. Yeah, I don't feel that way.
For whatever reason, players felt that way. Yeah.
The journey to get to the destination was different.
Right.
It's just that the destination was the same for everyone.
Yeah.
Which I respect.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they knew they wanted to start fresh with the next Mass Effect game. They didn't want to have a bunch of, stuff left over.
Right.
But it seems like they are apparently, with this next Mass Effect game that they're working on, which is effectively Mass Effect 5, they are bringing back, I guess, characters from the original trilogy, but only ones that could be long-lived.
Right, right.
So anyways, there's a little teaser for next Mass Effect.
All right, Mass Effect.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a couple things I picked up.
Yeah.
One game, which we had talked about in one of the early episodes of the podcast when it was first announced. This is Touch Detective 3 plus the complete case files for Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. So Rick had brought up in some previous episode these DS games called Touch Detective.
Yeah.
Which are sort of like an Ace Attorney kind of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
And the third game, which came out on 3DS in Japan many years ago, was never localized in the States. But Nicholas has decided to pick this up as a localization effort on their part for the Western market. Mm-hmm. And so we're finally getting the third game in English localized officially for the first time, as well as the first and second Touch Detective games on Switch. So all three games, one package, the whole complete collection of games on a single thing. I gotta say, this art style looks really great.
Yeah, it's the same art style.
Yeah, I'm sure they got the artist to come back and do a new cover for the game.
The little mascot character in this game is called Fungi. He's a little...
Yes, there he is right here.
That's him, yeah.
Nicholas actually has an exclusive special edition on their website. It's only $10 more than the base game.
I need to buy that.
And it comes with a Fungi plush.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I need that now.
And I saw it's, sometimes these like kind of niche publishers that put these special editions out, they're kind of like almost unofficial,
Atlas,
they published the
first one.
That was back when Atlas was publishing another game you probably picked up because it had Atlas on the cover.
It was cheap.
You seem to have played
I liked, I don't know. See, you're right to a degree, but I see the art style, and that has a huge effect on my decision.
I remember going to Walmart with you.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime.
We saw Nier sitting there.
Yeah, you saw the cover, and I'm like, sold.
Yeah, so basically, yeah.
It says the cover looks awesome, and it's Square Enix is in the corner.
If the artist created that,
yeah,
they're good. They have good ideas.
It's funny, though, because you could spend, let's say you were making a really bad game that you knew was bad, but you spent $2,000 to get a famous
really good cover
to do an awesome, amazing cover for your game.
That you would come out on top. You would
probably would.
You would,
because I think you are not alone in seeing a gorgeous cover and being like, I need that.
It's different than the cover of a book because it's a visual experience and artists are behind it, and the character or whatever's represented on the cover is not only representative of what's in the game, but it's representative of the skills and ideas creatively.
It's interesting you say that because I work in a library, and I can tell you a good cover will move a book.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, the world does.
You can often see sometimes we get books that are done by more indie-ish kind of self-published authors.
Right.
And you can see that their cover sucks.
Yeah, sure.
It's not good.
Is it? I mean,
it looks like they spent $20 for some guy in another country to whip them up a cover in under an hour.
Right.
Clearly, poorly photoshopped stock images slapped on top of each other. Some lighting gets moved around and, print JPEG.
Yeah, got it.
And, as compared to a well-published book or, coming from a bigger publisher.
Right.
Where they have a little more money to throw at it. But I have also seen indie self-published authors spend the extra dime to get a good cover made for their book, and it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Because people, when they pick up a book that looks like that, that's a very freshman effort.
It doesn't make you excited to read it.
Yeah. You see it and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's some book that's not been edited by anyone.
Right. Yeah, you're going to think that this is minimal work.
Amateur hour. It might be a great book,
Right.
But the cover
Yeah.
is just underselling it.
I mean, going back, like, with what I said about games, that says to someone, minimal effort.
Yeah.
You know, the book's not going to be good because they probably wrote it once. There was only one draft.
Yeah.
And no editing.
Right.
You know, that's what to expect from that cover. Again, though, with the Nier cover, I'm looking at it like, wow. You know, this is formatted well. Like, just the creative layout, you know, is cool. If these are the people behind the game, you know, it's gonna be a good game.
I have 100% bought games just because it has a great cover. A game I know I'll never play.
Yeah.
But, like, it has an awesome cover.
You want it.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah. Like, there's some Japanese art, like, if they're doing a cover for a game, like, I want it. Like, I just want it. You know, it's like, no ifs, ands, or but. I'm gonna get a copy. Like, because I see it as like, okay, well, if I ever meet the artist at Anime Expo or something, like, boom, get their Siggy on that.
Yeah. If it's a great cover.
And there have been games where I've like, why does the cover look like this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Know? Oh, yeah.
It happens a lot, especially sometimes with localized games like that come from Japan. In Japan, the cover is gorgeous, and then in America, in Japan it'll have this beautiful illustrated hand-drawn cover.
That you can really say that about retro games.
And then in America, it'll just have some dude who looks angry, you know, holding a gun or holding like a bar in his hand,
right? And
like it's like the 3D model of the character,
right?
Like, when I was in Japan, I saw the cover for Uncharted, the first Uncharted game. Yeah. And it's gorgeous. Yeah. It's like this hand-drawn illustrated cover. It looks so nice. But then the one we have in the States is like just so generic.
It's got Nathan Drake with his back turned.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, in America, we need our characters angry and brooding on the cover.
And with explosions in the background.
Even Kirby games.
Well, that's not true, though. But that's what Japan thinks about us.
No, I'm telling you, it's not Japan making that decision. It's the company who's localizing it, or the western part of that studio. Like the Kirby games. If you look at the American box arts, Kirby always has like a face, you know, like he's like, but in Japan, he's always smiling and happy.
Yeah, right.
Just for whatever reason, they think they must have data that shows angry brooding sells more copies than like happy illustration.
Yeah, I think just as far as cultural differences, we have different, like, I don't know if I'd call them interests, but a character shown as being like super serious about the journey, or whatever, speaks to a Western audience, I guess. Yeah. And then, you know, whereas they're more invested in, you know, the character's emotional state, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The cutesy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like pigeonhole here, but the emotional qualities of the character.
I mean, we're talking about Kirby, though.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, we don't need to see him angry. You know, it's Kirby. If you're buying him, it's because he's cute. Yeah. You know?
Like, I want Kirby to be cute.
Right. So I agree with you on Kirby.
Yeah. So anyways, So Touch Detective, real quick, does have a really nice cover.
I do, I like that cover. It's got Penelope and the other girl. She's from one of the cases, but she's the only character that has a case about her that recurs in all the other cases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's sort of like somehow tied to the overall plot.
Yeah, too. Like she helps out in certain points in some of the other cases.
Well, doesn't Ace Attorney kind of has that too?
Yeah. Yeah. But he has more of a partner. She is more of a...
I was thinking of the female... Oh, that's what you're talking... Because you have, in the first Ace Attorney game... Yeah. One of the other... Someone at your like law firm gets murdered. The
That's correct, yes.
And then you end up
her
dealing with her sister, I believe. Her younger
right.
sister.
Yeah.
And she kind of is periodically...
Yeah, but she becomes like his partner.
Right.
That's not quite the situation.
Okay, gotcha.
Her. but she's like a resident in the town.
Anyways, yeah, I'm after you spoke about it so highly, I'm quite curious to.
I just
check
love
it out.
Don't be with the first two.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly I don't know about the second one so much, but the first one it's short.
Yeah.
It's 4 cases.
Oh, okay.
And you can finish it. And
I mean, this was $40 for 3 games, so
okay,
I mean that's a steal. You know.
The first game probably 4 to 6 hours.
Oh, okay. Oh, so very brief.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, that sounds nice.
But the style, the characters, the look
Yeah.
of it, that aesthetic is like awesome.
Okay.
It's also got like a certain darkness about it too.
Yeah, it does definitely look like eerie and like
it's
grungy.
It's not scary, but it
has like
it
that.
just has that.
Yeah, even just from the illustration on the cover, like their faces covered in like the shadow, and they look kind of scared.
Yeah, they all just look goth and weird.
So the other purchase I have is not a game; it's a book that I imported from Japan. I have the translated name here. It's called Non-Commercial Game Software Guidebook Gold. Mm-hmm. So this is a new edition of a previous release book, and this new edition has the gold part in its title. Yeah. Because it's like, I guess, the definitive edition of this guide for this time. And essentially what it is exactly what it is. It's basically a book of not for resale games and game related items and hardware, promotional giveaway kind of things.
So everything that's been included in a bundle, everything that's been
like a magazine
given
promotion,
away as a sample
contest, sample discs, all kinds of things, and everything is obviously it's in Japanese. Yeah. So that makes it a little challenging for me to get a huge amount of information out of it because I don't read Japanese.
It's filled with pictures, though.
But yes, everything has a picture along with it, so it's really cool. So I mean, you can see like some Spy versus Spy game. Oh yeah. That, like this is like the Famicom cartridge that's just got like a generic label on it. Yeah. Like it talks about differences in this like version of Mega Man 3, the different cartridges that were there for it.
I'm curious to know more about what it includes as non-commercial. Like, are there like
basically just stuff that wasn't sold at retail?
Right, but does that include like prototype carts and that kind of thing?
Some of that looked like it might have been prototype. Oh yeah, even here it looks at some unofficial Pokemon cartridges as well. Yeah. But I know if you go to the more recent stuff, not super recent, but here you can see a whole bunch of like DS games that were not available at retail, like special cartridges that are printed by the manufacturer,
software cartridges, and all kinds of like. They used to, I think they did so more in Japan, but they used to put trailers and stuff on DS cartridges.
It's got a section on the PSP, different promotional. UMDs, they call them.
So, I'm guessing that this is just Japanese stuff. It's not going to include
It doesn't seem to include anything from North America. Okay. Like you can see a special PUBG PlayStation 4 controller that was probably given away in a contest or something. Yeah. And it looks like it has details on like when the contest was held from 2019 on 129 until 214, and even like the time that the contest ended, 1700.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it seems like something that would be a good resource for collecting, and like people who are interested in game history. Yeah. Like if you're actually like studying that and researching that, I mean you can use Google Translate and other DeepL translators and things to
use your phone.
Even here, it's like promotional, like game cases. Yep.
Accessories and stuff.
Yeah, some bot. You remember Botkai for the Game Boy Advance?
Yeah.
They use the sun sensor.
Yeah. I only used it in the final boss battle of that game, if I remember right.
That I think maybe you needed it to progress past that point or something like that. But I know you could use it throughout the game. So yeah, that's some. It looks like
it's a game. For anyone listening doesn't know what Botkai is, it's a Japanese Game Boy Advance title that had a solar panel built into the cartridge.
Yeah, a sensor, not a panel, I don't think.
Whatever.
Okay.
It charged up an attack or something,
Right.
but you needed the sun.
You had to hold it up to light.
Yeah, you needed the sun to like charge your attack.
Yeah. Developed Kojima was a big part of the game's development. Actually.
That's right.
Visionary game director Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
All right. One other thing I want to show you before we move on, but you know the 3DS cover plates.
Yeah.
The swappable plates for the new 3DS line, the smaller one.
Yeah.
It has a little section on like this special. It looks like, what's that game called? One Piece. It looks like
One Piece.
So there was some special One Piece
Is
cover
that
plate.
Right? Let me
look at it. Pretty sure that's One Piece.
No, it's got Mario, Donkey Kong. That looks like Super Smash Brothers or something, dude.
I thought it was Smash too, but look, there's clearly that little
riveting stuff here, guys.
Yeah, there's someone wearing a Mario hat, but that's not actually Mario. Anyways, the Docomo cover plates, which I actually have, which you could only get in Japan if you subscribe to a particular cellular network service,
right,
and redeemed like a reward for it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I bet all the Game Boy Micro plates. I'm sure there are a lot.
They're in there. Yeah.
Because Japan went crazy with that.
They did. They had a lot of contest ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so non-commercial game software guidebook gold.
Yep.
Check it out. I will post the Amazon link on our Twitter. So that's at the BitBeacon.
Not an affiliate, not a sponsor.
Yeah, not affiliated link, just so it's out there and people can find it if they want to see it.
Right.
Okay, so we finally finished that up. Before we move on to our stories, though, we have a couple other things. What have we been up to? No events or anything, right?
No, I don't have any events. I did want to just briefly touch on something, if I can go first.
Yeah.
So in a previous episode, not that long ago, I had brought up and mentioned and made it known that I'm doing a little experiment. I back in, I can actually get the date.
This is the Nintendo thing?
Yeah. It was March 6th. I threw down $2,000 on Nintendo stock.
And again, this is not financial advice.
Yeah, not financial advice at all. Nothing on this podcast will ever be financial advice. Just keep that in mind, folks. So my intentions with this, or what I'm trying to kind of figure out here, my theory is that this is going to jump.
Okay.
Because
when Nintendo announces a new console.
Right. And my specific theory is that this is the first time we're getting a Nintendo console while people have Robinhood in their pocket.
I see what you're saying.
So, so I am gonna try it and just see, with the $2,000, and I want to just keep updating people periodically.
So where are we at with your investment?
Not every episode, but so we have had no news, on this console.
No Switch successor has been announced.
There's been nothing. So I am currently down $250 at this moment. Not oof. I decide when to sell.
That's right. You haven't lost anything until you sell.
Yeah. So waiting for an announcement.
Okay, so I have a hypothetical. Sorry, and
go ahead.
You can tell me to shut up if you don't like this hypothetical.
That's fine.
Okay, so let's say the Switch successor gets announced.
Yeah.
And you bounce back up to like $2,000. Like your investment is back at $2,000. Are you do you just sell and just say, okay, well, experiment over. I got my money back.
Okay, well, so we're going to be looking at different phases of the lead up to the launch.
Oh, okay. Right? So you want to stay through launch?
Yeah. I haven't decided if I'm going to sell immediately before launch, like ride the hype train kind of thing.
Okay.
And then before it launches, sell then.
Okay.
In case it is like a massive disappointment or something. Or wait till afterward. Wait till after the launch. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the thing.
Right.
So I don't even have an opinion about it.
Yeah.
But we're going to be looking at different, I don't know what you'd call them, milestones.
So you think you might be, unless there's like a crazy spike.
Right.
Then you might just be,
let me
pull my money out.
Yeah. Even if that happens, I might wait a day to see what happens. But
I feel like a lot of times companies like they make some announcement and they spike, and then like a day or two later it drops back down.
So what I'm expecting to see is we'll get the announcement, we'll have that spike, it'll come down a bit, and then it'll kind of do this where it kind of plateaus.
Oh, okay, but it's still higher than where it was.
Higher than where it was before.
Okay.
Not nearly as high as the spike.
Right.
But then we'll get the next little buzz
when there's more news.
Yeah, exactly. When they actually show the thing.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's going to be like a generic sort of reveal, like here's what it looks like, but it'll still be months before anyone gets their hands on it. Kind of thing.
Compare it to like the Wii reveal or the we're gonna first probably see basically something more akin to a dev kit. Well,
no one has done a new console announcement since before the pandemic at this point.
Mm-hmm.
PS5 and Xbox Series X were known quantities prior to the pandemic, I believe. Or
PS5 definitely came out before the pandemic.
No, it came out in 2020. Both Series X and PS5 came out at the end of 2020.
Okay.
But I can't remember if they were unveiled prior. No, I think they were unveiled that year. Okay, so maybe... Okay, but now we are in a sort of post-pandemic society now. Where I guess but there's no trade shows anymore, really.
Right. I mean, we haven't fully recovered.
Yeah, definitely not.
But I mean,
it'll be interesting to see how they sell this.
Yeah. That might change some things with like how they roll it out.
Yeah.
But if we're going off what we already know, when the Wii came out, it was called the Revolution. They gave us the code name first.
Right.
Switch didn't.
No, it was called the NX.
Oh, that's right. I do remember. Yeah, okay. So we're probably going to get that first. We might see something that looks more like what will end up being the dev kit compared to the...
When we saw the Switch, we saw basically the final form factor.
That's true.
Yeah. The Wii U did
initially... The Wii looked totally different.
Yeah. The Wii U, too, also had a different look to it when it was showcased at events.
Pictures of the PS5's dev kit leaked online before we got to see the retail console. So we got to see the dev kit.
Yeah.
Because it went out to, like,
developers, They got to start making games.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point in launching a new system.
Right. So, knowing the milestones of a new console rollout, I'm anticipating, like, seeing how each one affects this. I'm not too worried about making or losing money.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want answers.
Okay. You want to experience the ride.
Right. Yeah, just see how it impacts this. Because, again, this is a first. It's going to be the first console with Robin Hood.
Right.
On everyone's phone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so many people have that installed and
that
use it to invest now.
I'm curious on the greater, I don't know, what do you call it? The greater umbrella, question is like, how is everyone having the stock market in their pocket going to impact things like this, new product rollouts and stuff? I would hope or would think it a lot.
What I wonder is, I mean, because the amount of money that like the big firms and things throw around on Wall Street,
right?
Like, does that add? Does everyone who has Robinhood effectively just equate to like one firm?
Yeah. So I
don't know how much money it actually really all is when people throwing around just hundreds and thousands.
One firm, billions of dollars,
right?
So yeah, everybody
combined,
300 million people, or however many.
Let's not include children.
100 million people.
Let's say 100. Sure. Let's say a third of Americans use Robinhood now.
I would think they'd equate to that.
Okay. Yeah.
80 billion or whatever one firm's worth.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable thought.
So you have
a new player.
Yeah. Basically. But we're not making like guided directed decisions. Like we're not all getting
You're all
together.
going in blind.
So it's still a little different.
Oh, what does Reddit tell me to do today?
Yeah, still a little different.
Yeah.
Than a hedge fund.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We will stay tuned. I'm especially curious. When
The takeaway is that since March 5th, we've had a dip.
Yeah, like Nintendo's dipped.
It's going down slowly.
Just got to ride the dip, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, again, I'm not selling until the end.
Right. I mean, there will come a time when Nintendo stock is worth more than it is right now. Like,
yeah.
That's guaranteed to happen.
You buy low and you sell high. It's not playing the slots, you know.
You're not. It's not a penny stock,
right?
You know, you're not really taking a risk here.
Yeah.
You just gotta wait for the right time.
Exactly.
Okay, so last week we had a pre-recorded episode that we put out.
Right.
And that's because I was in Texas to view the total solar eclipse, which I know I've spoken to you in the past, and it's not something you seem particularly interested in.
I think it's cool.
Right.
Would I fly, 6 hours to go somewhere where I can see it better?
Well, I mean, have you ever seen a total solar eclipse?
No.
No. Okay, so like...
Well, I mean, online I have.
Right, okay. So...
I know what it looks like.
I'm not here to convince... Well, okay, actually, I am here to, like, talk about it almost, like, poetically. Because it is, like... It's something I feel every human should experience once in their life.
I have seen an eclipse, probably a partial.
Well, so yeah, in California, in Southern California, you could see a partial.
Yeah.
But like, it doesn't really, you wouldn't know it that there was a partial eclipse unless you had the glasses and looked up at it. But even then, it's like, oh, okay, the sun is like a crescent right now.
Right.
Cool,
Yeah.
But like, nothing really changes. You don't really feel anything different.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. It's just a circle instead of a crescent with a total.
Oh, no, you're completely wrong.
Okay.
Okay, have you ever seen Mel Gibson's Apocalyptico?
No.
Okay. All right, well, that movie does a pretty good job at, like, kind of, I guess, like, explaining how, like, people would react to something like that happening. But anyway, so a total solar eclipse, real quick. I flew to Texas. We were there for a few days. We had a good time. Monday, the total solar eclipse happened. Weather was pretty iffy. We were worried, so we ended up driving like 150 miles northeast to get into we were in Bogota, Texas.
Okay.
Which is pretty close to Paris, Texas.
Oh, right.
So we found this little park in this little town. No more than 1,000 people live there. And we just set up, and thank God we had great weather for it. But really, what's so special about a total solar eclipse compared to just any old eclipse, or any partial eclipse, is that, like...
It flares out.
Well, the sun, or the moon, slowly blocks out the entirety of the sun. And then you eventually experience this thing called totality.
Right.
Where it's completely blocked. Like, the moon is just the right size, and the sun is just the right distance.
Right.
That the moon perfectly blocks out the sun.
Right.
And we had 4 minutes and 20 seconds of totality where we were at, which is basically like the maximum time you could get for totality.
Right.
For this particular eclipse.
420.
Light them if you got them, everyone.
Right.
Okay? It was 4 minutes 22, but let's, 420. Let's say 420.
Right.
So what happens is about 80% like coverage. Lighting starts to get weird. Like the lighting, like it's this weird. It's not like dusk. It's not dawn. It's like a new kind of lighting.
Right.
That you can only experience there.
Okay.
And then animals start wigging out.
Right.
Because they're like, what's going on? So the birds are all like squawking and like making all these crazy noises. Dogs at the park were like, what's going on?
Right.
Insects, if they're around, they'll start making weird, noises, and they start like, okay, I guess it's nighttime. That came a little quick.
Right.
The temperature starts to drop. And and
it becomes night in the matter of like
seconds. But it's so crazy. You get like a 20-degree temperature drop,
mm-hmm.
like wind and like pressure starts to feel different on you, you know, because like the weather is like moving around to it. But then you get to totality when it's completely blocked. Night turns to day, and you can take off those glasses. You don't need the glasses to look at the sun anymore because it's just perfectly blocked. And it's just, when it happens, that moment, that exact moment where you take the glasses off and everyone around you takes the glass, and you just hear everyone because you are looking up at the most incredible thing you've ever seen in your life, ever. Like nothing compares to it. It is the most beautiful thing you can see with your naked eye.
Okay, such as
I mean, it's night practically. It's not quite night, but it's like almost it's not pitch black, but it's kind of pitch black. You know, it's weird to just describe. You can see planets with your naked eye.
Okay.
And like there's just these crazy. So like the sun now looks black because the moon is in front of it.
Right.
And the Earth's shadow is like casting on the moon, so you don't really see the moon because there's no light on the moon.
Right.
You know?
Right. So that's hence the black circle in the middle.
Right. And you can see like solar prominences and flares, if there happens to be any flares, with your naked eye, like coming off the surface of the sun.
Yeah. And
the whole sun is enveloped in this white, wispy, like tentacle like thing, like it's like the light peeking out around the moon.
Right.
But it's not like actual sunlight, so it's not harming your eyes. And it's like the craziest thing. Like it unlocks like this weird primal like amazement inside you, and like you comprehend why like ancient people would lose their minds over something like this.
Right.
And you just, and like pictures and videos, because it's not just a visual experience.
Right. It's everything around
physical,
you. Yeah.
like you just feel it with your whole
temperature
body,
and stuff.
your emotions. It's a high like none other. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyways, I truly believe every human being should seek one out once in their life. It's really, we probably spent $2,000 on the whole trip.
Jeez.
I mean, you know, we did other stuff. You know, we weren't just like sitting around twiddling our thumbs for the eclipse. But I would say every penny was worth those 4 minutes and 22 seconds.
All right.
So anyways, if you're ever near the path of totality, you owe it to yourself to do it. Unfortunately, if you live in the U.S., it's 20 and 21 years before the next path of totality hits the United States. So you would have to leave the country. There's typically only a total solar eclipse approximately on average every 2 years. So, you know, there's a finite amount of them to see. A lot of them end up being over the ocean. So if you have the opportunity, you really should embrace it. I encourage you. Go check out a total solar eclipse and pray for good weather.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, so yeah, what an experience. Highly recommend it. But we want to talk about our YouTube channel real quick.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
This kind of took us by surprise, I think.
It's reminiscent of something we've talked about
That's
previously.
true, yeah. I went to that Honkai Star Rail event that I talked about in one of the previous 2 episodes.
Yep.
And I recorded some video of these 3 musical performances that were at the event.
Yep. Where
the singers from the game were there to perform their one song that they were featured in.
Right.
And so I posted all 3 videos, you know, just on a whim. You know, I looked online. I saw that one of the performances was already posted. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can post the other 2. You know, why not? I had a really good perspective. I was up close to the performer. Right at the edge of the stage. You could see the screen behind them really well.
Yeah.
But one of the videos now has nearly 80,000 views.
Yeah, which is a lot for us, guys. That's
really, really a lot.
We're not YouTubers.
No, we're not. And it is particularly, it's the video of the performer who sings If I Can Stop One Heart from Breaking. And no one knew who the performer was before that night. This was basically like the reveal of the singer of the song as well. As well as the official lyrics to the song were on the screen.
Right.
Previously, fans kind of only speculated what the lyrics were.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes when someone's singing...
So this is like the like official lyric...
reveal.
Like, this is all we have so far.
Yeah. And the singer is actually like a well-known kind of indie singer. Her name, she goes by Chevy. Like the car.
Okay.
Anyways, that's out there. Honkai Star Rail community, thank you for embracing our videos.
Yeah.
And, there's over 100 comments. People are, like, talking to each other in the comments. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like,
that is cool.
It's not something we've ever...
I mean, hopefully they come listen to the podcast. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know how much it's going to translate.
Yeah. We do talk about Honkai, but it's occasionally.
I mean, I wish you had kept up with it a little more.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be fun to have a game we both have in common to talk about.
Live service, dude. I'm sorry.
You're just allergic to it.
It's a cool JRPG, like turn-based. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about the gameplay. I just can't get down and dirty with the live service stuff. I'm just not.
Except for Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
we've been over that.
But Pokemon Go is more of like a utility.
Sure. I see it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at Pokemon Go as hardly a game.
Right.
Yeah.
Only categorically a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check out the videos if you're interested in our Honkai Star Rail performance videos. They're up there. I also posted the That Game Company panel video.
Yeah, I did see that. 9 people watched that.
That's got 9 views.
Just to compare, guys.
The other 2 performance videos, one has 2.5 thousand and the other one has 1.2.
Which is also way higher than anything else.
I mean, I figured these videos would get in the couple thousands.
Yeah.
I did think that when I had saw that no one else had posted them yet.
There's something special about that particular song, I guess.
Okay, so if you play the game, you would know why it's particularly important.
Got it.
It takes place at like a pivotal moment in one of the recent story sequences in the Penacony area of the game. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like particularly relevant to the event as well.
The whole expansion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and people like have feelings about that moment.
Sure.
So like the song plays during that moment.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it did make sense to me that it had more views. I just did not expect it. I didn't realize that it was the official like lyric reveal.
Yeah.
Video.
I guess it is. Yeah, I mean.
So now like the wikis are updated with like the lyrics.
Thank God you recorded it.
Yeah.
Because now the internet has lyrics to the song.
Yeah.
Like the official lyrics.
Now will we be credited?
No.
For providing those
Heck
lyrics?
No. Heck no.
Just like I talked about on the 25th episode with the Zelda 25th anniversary concert. I had the event program and we scanned it and put it online on our blog.
Yeah.
You can find it on like Zelda Wiki now.
This is what I was mentioning before when I said it's reminiscent of something.
Yeah.
When we recorded that, we got crazy listens on SoundCloud.
Yeah, I mean that was something else.
Yeah.
That was like in like the hundreds of thousands between all the...
But now, people take our program scans and just put them on their websites and don't mention us at all. Which,
on one hand, it's like, well, that kind of sucks. But on the other hand, it's like, you know what? Like, we did something that matters to, like, that fandom.
We're not getting paid for any of this, really. So.
No. So, I mean, I don't know. I still think it's cool. Like, when I saw our scans on the Zelda Wiki, like, I was happy. I was like, that's so cool that, like, something I did is, like, now enshrined on the Zelda Wiki.
Part of the preservation.
Effort, yeah. So, I don't know. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But now we're going to jump into your Seraphim Weekly Update before we take a quick break.
Yep, sounds good.
Seraphim Weekly Update.
Well, let's take the break. So, over the past couple weeks, since we haven't had a recording, I have been working on, again, of course, The pause menu. Yeah. I have the pause menu completely working, segregated in a separate scene.
Okay.
Because that's how I'm kind of doing it. Quarantined. Because I got way too many error messages to deal with other code running.
Okay.
So I segregate the elements, and then I get it all figured out, like all the what is it? What's that error message called? No reference exception.
Oh, okay. No reference exception.
That means that it's looking for something that's not, it can't find.
Oh, okay. Right. I gotcha. That makes sense.
So I get all that stuff, loose ends tied up, and then I do what I need to do to make everything.
It's like you're a surgeon.
Yeah, that's what this is. And then I bring it back into the game and get it all hooked up.
It's like all the veins are like spewing blood.
Right, spewing blood. So that's what I have been doing with the pause menu. Everything's working.
Okay.
It's
so like are you effectively done with the pause menu?
No, because now I'm gonna do a bunch of visual work.
Okay.
And
this is work you like doing.
Yeah.
Normally, right?
Yeah. Normally, yeah. This is like I'm just gonna have some stuff rotating.
Okay.
It's not like serious animation.
Okay.
It's not even animation really. It's just scripts.
Okay.
Rotating stuff. But it's gonna have to be frame based animation, not time based, because when the game's paused, the time scale is at 0. So I have to if I just say play animation or rotate in function update, it's just gonna stop.
Okay, I have a question about the pause menu. Yeah. I always envision the pause menu as you press start or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the screen kind of gets like opaque-ish.
Yeah. And
then just the options are there.
That's still the case.
Not that there would be like extra objects on the screen.
It's so everything you just described is still the case. Okay. It's just got overlaid patterns and stuff that rotate a little bit, so there is some motion going on.
Okay.
Just as an added overlay.
Okay.
I just want some more than just a faded screen with some text and a cursor.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I'm doing that, and then I have to bring it back in the game still and hook it up. So that's what needs to be done. But I have finished the actual code work.
So I know you were talking now the pause menu itself, but you haven't delved into the individual menus within the pause menu.
Those are done.
The options menu?
Yeah, the options menu is pretty much done.
Because I remember you saying like you had new options you wanted to add to the game.
The receivers for some of those options don't exist yet.
Okay.
So
but like the UI elements are all there.
Right.
Now. Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
It's like the language changing thing.
And everything, all the code involved with that on the pause menu side is done.
Okay, so you've I think the last time we talked about that kind of stuff, that wasn't done.
Right.
So now that's actually done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now going and changing the voice language is
that hasn't been programmed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have voice language yet
right.
for different foreign languages. So that's not going to work.
Right.
But
it looks like it's there.
It's there, and it's going to try to do it.
Right.
Which is why I can't just run the game for people, because
you'll get the error.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that teams have to, when they're assigned to put together a demo for a show or something, that's exactly the kind of stuff they're doing.
Right.
All the stuff that's looking for a receiver for a future feature or something.
They gotta tie it off.
Yeah. They have to either make the option not selectable or have, comment out the code and put a new line that just says play sound effect.
Right.
Or something.
So it does something so it doesn't crash the game.
Exactly. Boring stuff. Very boring work. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, definitely progress has been made since we last talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
what is the next step for the pause menu then?
Getting all the visual improvements and stuff done, and then bringing it back in the game and implementing it and deleting out the old one. And actually getting...
So are those the next steps you're actually going to take?
Yeah, I gotta weld those veins.
Okay.
You know?
Gotcha. So the next thing you're doing is adding some elements to the pause menu. Yeah. Some visual elements.
Adding, but also replacing some.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got to totally remove the old pause menu system.
Yep, pull out that old heart and put the new one in.
Well, that one's just going in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't delete anything.
Oh, okay.
I will keep it for posterity.
Sure.
As like an exported
But you don't have to do anything else with it.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, the old one is like... All that stuff is in the new one for the most part. It's not that different.
Okay.
It's just a lot more stuff, and it instantiates on its own. Visually, it doesn't look that different.
Okay.
I'm adding more overlay elements.
Okay.
Just to give it some more style than what it has.
Okay, so after the pause menu work.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. And more motion on screen, because that's a big thing for me. I don't like the screen being still.
So after the pause menu, what's the next thing you think you want to tackle?
Oh yeah. When I stopped, one thing that I left unfinished was once again going over the reflectors. And that needs to be made instantiable. Able to instantiate and destroy on its own. So I think I already mentioned this in a previous episode, but I'm going to replace the visuals for that.
Okay.
With something that does not take, and this is the first time this is happening. I know that's been iterated on like 3 other times already. But every time they were the same size, like they took up the same amount of screen room.
Right.
Just unnecessary geometry and stuff. Sure. So I'm just going to have metallic... They're not even going to be called constellations anymore.
Okay.
That was the terminology then, because they were actually star constellations originally. They've changed so much.
I always looked at them as pieces of coral.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They don't look... Those models are gone. Long gone. And I have a new one in there now. That one's going too.
Okay.
I'm going to just put reflectors. They're just going to be circular, metallic, reflective.
Like a pong paddle?
No, because they're curved. Because they rotate.
Right.
But yeah, it's just going to look like a mirror.
Okay, like so what's the in-universe explanation for these metallic...
The term? Reflector.
Okay. But, like, why do they exist? Aside from, obviously, the game needs them to add, like, a difficulty challenge to it.
Yeah, with the constellations had a little bit more lore element to it.
Okay.
This doesn't.
Okay.
But, like, they're taking up way too much of the screen, being the way they've been. So, oh well.
Oh well, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, maybe it's just a game mechanic. It's just a gameplay mechanic. It's not...
Okay.
They don't appear in cutscenes.
Right. I thought maybe like some antagonistic force put them there or something.
I mean, I'll just let that be inferred.
Okay. I mean, there's, I think, a lot of player inferring to be done with Seraphim.
Yeah, it's a game about the whole story's inferred.
Is whatever you want to make it to be, kind of.
I mean, it has an actual plot.
Right. But it's something you've never talked about before.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna.
He's not gonna, folks.
It's, this may or may not work well.
Okay.
But it is... So, we've seen plots in games be spoon-fed to the player. Sure. We've seen plots in games be told through visual with no dialogue. We've seen the opposite of that. There's a lot of different ways to convey a plot and move it forward. Seraphim is done through symbolism.
Okay.
Literally, yeah. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Okay.
But it uses symbolism as its device.
I mean, I respect that you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to spoil anything for your players.
I mean, I can give you the long description that's on the website.
Okay.
You know.
Well, that's as much as you'll ever say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you are an angel, as a seraphim is, a seraph.
Okay.
You are obviously protecting the earth.
Right. The earth is like rotating around in there.
Right. As it does.
As it does.
And you have these masses of geology coming at you, about to destroy the earth.
Okay.
And you're there shooting it down.
Okay.
The whole game.
But in your head, you have like...
Yeah, it goes way
deeper. Lot to say about it.
It goes way deeper.
But that's just for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's for players who get it.
Right.
But
I mean, you'll never... Okay, let's say it got to a point where people were like submitting theories or something.
Yeah, that's what I would hope to see. I'd love to see that.
Okay.
You know, like... It'll never happen, but game theory, doing a video on it, it would be the perfect game for that. It's made for that. It's made for fan theory.
Okay.
And there is an actual explanation to it. Everything that is in there is there for a reason.
Except for the reflectors.
Yeah, well, they're there for a reason.
Oh, they are there for a reason.
Yeah. Plot reason, not quite yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man.
I'll figure it out.
You haven't refit them back in since.
Mirrors are in the game.
Okay.
Just mirrors, like mirrors as a symbol.
Wait, so are these reflectors actually going to have a reflective effect?
I'm going to play with it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my
resource intensive, isn't it?
It can be.
Yeah.
Depends on the resolution of the reflection.
Okay.
So I can make the reflection actually really low res.
Right. I mean, it's such a small object.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways. And it's not facing you.
Right.
It's facing the character.
Right.
So I could probably get away with doing that. I already have an actual camera mirror in the game on another texture.
Okay.
That's on the map scene.
Okay.
But so I already have that stuff working. Mirrors are already a symbol in the game.
Okay.
So I might just tie it to that.
I mean, from the trailer, we've seen power-ups convey messages.
Yeah. They represent something.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, like, we've seen, like, sign language.
Yeah.
Things like that in the game.
That was in the Continuum power-up.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is maybe one of the coolest... I mean, like, the game's not out, but it's one of the coolest things, like, I've ever seen a game do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it reminds me of, like, kind of Master Hand and stuff, from Smash Brothers. These sort of hands in the background.
As just parts of... So people understand what we're even talking about.
Okay.
If you watch the teaser trailer for Seraphim, it's shown.
Yeah.
This particular power-up, Continuum, its effect is that it normalizes the time speed. Because the time scale, sorry.
Right.
The time scale ramps up throughout every stage, over the course of the stage. So the game speeds up. Continuum is a power-up that normalizes it for a duration of time while it's in effect.
So it's meant to give the player like a break from the high
speed. Yeah. And for the backdrop of this power-up, because every power-up changes the backdrop of the stage for the duration of its effect. There are 2 giant hands in the background to this one, along with other elements.
Yeah.
And just for fun, when I made that power-up, I decided to have one of the hands, or actually, no, it is all with one. It's with one hand.
One hand, okay.
Do sort of a hidden message in sign language.
Right. So look for that.
Look for that.
When the full game comes out.
I don't even know if the hidden message is relevant anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was a B to animate too.
Oh, well, you're not redoing it.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. The fact that you did that, and it looks so good, too.
Yeah.
Like,
it's super fast.
It is
It
fast.
had to be, like, really fast.
Because he had to do it during the duration of the power
right.
up.
But, yeah, that was, I like doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, with Zelda, you know, you have a lot of fan theorizing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of this game is related to this game secretly because this character is this other character's son.
Yeah.
It's never stated anywhere, but here's why.
Right.
He's wearing the same colors and, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was inspired a lot throughout my life by that.
I mean,
and
I remember in high school, we would talk about Zelda theory and timelines and all kinds of stuff. The rumor that Miyamoto, or not the rumor, because I think Miyamoto said, "Oh, wow, there's a document on my computer that has the timeline," and that was like the first, like, "Oh my god, it's real, it exists," and it just like made people theorize more and more.
Yeah. So I think that was largely an unintended effect.
Yeah.
I don't think that they planned that from the beginning of Zelda.
No.
But people got crazy about it, and I grew up in that
craze.
Yeah, in that craze. And so Seraphim is huge. It's made for that. It's made for people who want to look into stuff.
Right.
You know, and
if you want to look, you'll find stuff.
A lot is not going to be given. Yeah. You can play the game, enjoy it, think it's great, think it's fun, and get to the end, and there's a whole world of information you haven't, you know, gleaned.
Now, if you were to have, like, a manual come with your physical game, let's say you get fortunate enough
would I spell it all out?
Not would you spell it out, but maybe would you throw
hints?
More, not hints, but just more fuel on the fire, you know?
Oh.
Like maybe like lore related things that maybe aren't in the game or even like hinted at in the game in any way, but just sort of like to further like give more stuff for people to like look at.
So the book is called, I don't know, I'll save the title.
Okay.
But it's a complete like compilation of excerpts from the game design document, hopefully a walkthrough, some strategy for playing, my whole development memoir, and include some photos. I think I want to include.
We've got some behind the scenes photos from the early days.
Some concept art, like a whole art book within this thing.
So
a few pages.
Okay, how big do you see this whole tome being?
It'll be 200 plus.
Okay.
You know, because it's just so many documents.
Is it going to be like a video game strategy guide size thing, or are you talking like a hardcover book?
Hardcover, yeah, something like this maybe.
Okay.
That's what I envision in my head.
Okay.
Might end up being like that.
Okay. He's pointing at various sized books. But you're basically saying it'll be a fairly normal sized book.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would personally say that an art book does not convey itself to something that size very well.
Right. It does if you have one piece per page. I mean,
I suppose.
Yeah, I know you want your giant.
I mean, when you look at like the video game art book, like the Final Fantasy 16 art book that I showed last week, it's got that kind of standard art book size that you usually see for art books.
Right.
Or like the Hohokam art book.
I might go like the big, you know.
Well, do you remember the Hohokam art book that we got?
Yeah.
It's
like a longer.
It's kind of longer
landscape,
but similar to your idea for a book, it's not really just like, oh, here's art. There's almost like narrative weaved into the art and stuff. I don't know if you remember that about the book.
Yeah, I do. That one was different.
Oh yeah, very different.
Like it did something different than your average art book. It might be like legal size.
Right.
You know, okay. I don't know the dimensions of the book yet.
Okay, fair enough.
But
getting way ahead of ourselves
yeah,
here.
oh yeah. Anyways, included are a short story
Okay.
that is canonical.
Okay, but we're talking about the manual in the game case.
Oh,
okay.
I see what you're saying.
So like maybe that short story in the manual, like that would be like they open it up and there's this little 3-page short story. Or what? I don't know how.
I don't even know if I see a manual being in there. Like,
why would if you could do a manual? You're telling me you
if
wouldn't?
of course I would.
Okay.
Of course I would. I don't know what publisher is going to be publishing physically.
I know like Limited Run does do manuals, but I think a lot of times it is up to
the developer.
The developer if they want to have something like that included.
I think it's extra.
Oh, I have no doubt that either you increase the price of your product to make up for that extra cost,
right? Or
you, as the developer, you would eat that cost essentially for your players,
right?
Which I'm sure some people choose to do that, and some people, bump up the price of their thing.
It's probably a couple cents difference per unit.
Yeah, if you're talking about a 10-page, little manual inside there,
right?
I think Limited Run also offers a service where like you can send everything you want to be in them, and they have like graphic designers who will like design the manual for you, so you don't even have to like do that work yourself.
Gotcha. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather do it myself. I'm just that type.
Yeah.
I built the whole game myself. I might as well.
What's 3 more months on the manual?
I don't need to do that. It's all going to be like text for the most part.
Okay.
But it's getting back to your question, would I drop like, I don't know, I like spell out the plot a little bit? Is that what you're asking?
You said you have a short story. I'm like, okay, that would be something cool to put in like the manual. Just like this seemingly unrelated thing that someone's reading, but then obviously like, well, it must be related to the game. Maybe it almost like is the thing that gives them like the idea that, oh, there's something going on here. Maybe I need to like pay more attention while I'm playing,
You're right.
Like something to almost prompt the player to think about the game more deeply.
Yeah, okay. It would need to be kind of vague and cryptic because the game is that way.
Right. But you say you have a short story.
Yeah.
That's canonical to the game.
Yeah, but it's about something that happens around the game that's not included in the game.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You put that in the manual. The player reads that before they play the game. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it doesn't work the way you have this short story.
Yeah. I mean,
do you remember getting Pokemon and it came with that real thick like trainer's guide?
Oh,
it looked like it was like this brown thing. It like had these like fake ring binders into it, and it was basically this whole like, it was if you were in the world of Pokemon yourself, and this was like your guide to like how to live here.
Got it. Yeah.
And it was almost like this in-universe guide that like not only did it explain how to play the game.
Okay, so I could see some kind of like,
but it was also like Professor Oak wrote it himself, and like,
right.
It was like in his voice.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I could see myself doing something like that. Yeah. I don't know exactly what it would be about at this moment.
Sure.
But I could see it being like some sort of like almost like scripture kind of thing.
Okay.
Because that would make sense.
Okay. That would be cool.
And decorated like a tome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I might, I'm going to think more about that.
Okay, cool. Should we talk about what we're wearing?
Yes. Let's,
should I talk about what you're wearing first?
I think yours is going to be a little more.
All right, so Rick has a red t-shirt on, crew neck, not V-neck.
Yeah. Screw V-neck. I don't wear that.
And it's a really nice, like, vintagey looking Mario Kart t-shirt. It's got like vintage like Mario artwork from like the SNES Mario Kart days. It's not quite the Mario Kart logo, but it does say Mario Kart, and then it says since 92, and the font is like this sort of 3D kind of like jump out font.
Cartoony.
Yeah,
3D.
looking font.
Yeah.
I like the shirt a lot. I think. Did you get this at Walmart?
I feel
like I saw Target.
No. It was either Target or Kohl's.
Oh, okay. I feel like I saw that shirt when I was in a store recently, and I was like, "Oh wow, that looks nice." Of course, you got it.
Yeah. Well, I've had this for a while.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah. Like years.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm thinking of something else then.
I've seen stuff similar.
Oh, okay.
You know. Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Let's take a look at your shirt.
I'm going to stand up for this one.
Okay. So Taylor is wearing a shirt that is a Splatoon shirt, but I only know that because it says Splatoon on the sleeve. It is a yellow-orange in color, and on the front are these 4 red symbols. And
I think it's the language from the game.
Okay.
Like the in-universe squid language.
Got it. Is there anything on the back?
There is, but it does say copyright 2015 Nintendo.
Copyright 2015 Nintendo. The squid logo from Splatoon. Oh, from Tower Records. Oh, okay. Interesting. Taylor's going to have to tell us about that. What is that symbol?
I think that's supposed to be almost maybe a copyright.
Okay.
An in-universe copyright.
But in their language?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the back says no music, no life. It's got a little, a splot of red. The shirt is only the background yellow and then red. Everything else is red, except the little squid on the back is white. And the bottom says Tower Records in the Tower Records font of the bottom of the back of the shirt. Cool shirt.
Should I talk about the shirt a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so when I visited Japan in 2016, there was a special collaboration between the Tower Records in Shibuya, Tokyo, and Splatoon. And so they had a whole bunch of collaboration merchandise. And I mean, for me, as a Californian who grew up with Tower Records all around them,
right? And
sadly, they're all gone, and they were already gone by that point as well.
Yeah. To
see that Tower Records is thriving in Japan was just it makes you happy. To see that Tower Records is still out there doing their thing. And I knew they were out there and I wanted to go. It's a 12-story Tower Records.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a literal tower.
Yeah, it's a tower. And I think it's their crowning, their main store, their flagship store in Japan. And so that particular Tower Records does a lot of collaborations, and it just happened to be sort of ending the Tower Records collaboration with Splatoon. And it was cool because the outside of the building, they put on it had been sprayed by the different Splatoon colored ink on the outside with these huge stickers on the outside of the building.
Crazy. The whole place was dressed up for this shirt.
Well, like I said, it was a whole thing. I think maybe there was a music performance that happened at some point during the collaboration, because on the bottom floor of this Tower Records, they have a little area where they do meet and greets and performances and things like that. So it wouldn't have shocked me if the Nintendo sound team for Splatoon showed up and did a live performance there. But yeah, so this is just the kind of official shirt from that collaboration series
event.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a Tower Records t-shirt, so I like to wear it when I go to music shows and stuff.
Gotcha.
It's a fun shirt.
Cool.
Because people Tower Records. Yeah. And then they say all this gibberish language and they're all confused.
What is that?
And yeah, I love the no music, no life. That's Tower Records slogan.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, we're going to jump into our news stories. We just got 2 this week. The first one I want to talk about, and most people maybe wouldn't really think of this as a story per se, but I thought it was pretty noteworthy and worth us kind of diving into a little bit. Would you say so?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So what has happened for the first time in more than 30 years, Game Informer now is accepting direct-to-consumer subscriptions to subscribe to the magazine. So Game Informer is basically the only surviving like
game magazine from
that,
back in the day
that's made here in the U.S.
Right.
Europe still has several big magazines that focus on gaming.
EGM is European, right? Or no?
I know Edge is.
Oh, yeah.
Edge is still around, and they're still out in Europe, and there's a couple others too.
So for people that don't know, Game Informer has been around since like
literally 30 years, the early 90s.
Yeah. Right. And it for basically the life cycle of GameStop, it's been like the official GameStop magazine. The only way to get it was to be a member, have your membership at GameStop, and you'd receive it in the mail. This is the first time they're breaking away from that tradition.
Yeah.
GameStop
no longer, if you're a member of the rewards program, you no longer get the magazine mailed to you. And it's been that way for a few years. There have been some tricks where you could like pay extra to have the magazine mailed to you.
Mm-hmm.
But largely, the only way to really get the magazine has been to buy the magazines in store, which they do stock the new issues in store, but they charge about $8, which is crazy. That's the going rate for magazines on like newsstands these days.
So you're paying you're buying the magazine and paying for a membership.
Exactly.
Which is...
I think some people maybe would use their $5 monthly pro membership coupon to get like the magazine discounted.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's not a bad way to use the membership.
What were they distributing Game Informer digitally?
Yeah, I think you do get access to the digital version of the magazine with your pro membership. I don't know that still is a thing or not.
Right.
But I know that they did shift to giving people the digital subscription.
Yeah, right.
But so physical magazines are in trouble, a lot of them. Like we said, this is the last remaining major U.S. video game magazine that's had this kind of a history.
Right.
Even juggernauts like Nintendo Power are gone.
Right.
Now
PlayStation Magazine,
they're gone. Xbox Magazine, gone.
Yeah.
So Game Informer has maybe been on the bubble, you could say. I mean, like, they got to be feeling the heat of the industry, how people's tastes have changed, how print magazines aren't as widely desired by a lot of people anymore.
Well, they're not used to get your news anymore.
Right.
They're still collected by some people, but even people who collect them go online for their news.
Yeah.
So
I think magazines have had to try to figure out a way is like, how do we still provide something valuable that people want to read,
right,
while also not being necessarily the source of news anymore,
right,
or like not really the source, but more like the way that people got their news,
right.
So I think Game Informer has found ways. They do a lot of like developer interviews and like big exposés on the games.
Content.
Yeah, like that's not necessarily news, but like if you're interested in the behind the scenes of how like games are made and like what's going on at the studios that are making them, it's a great magazine to be subscribed to.
Right.
Because that's where you get that kind of tidbits. Now some of it might, leak online, but you're just reading like some guy's 1-sentence summary of like 4 paragraphs.
Right.
So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Totally derailing here, but
No.
Game Informer has always been really known for its covers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the covers are iconic.
They're clean.
Yeah.
It's just literally the logo. There's usually not a whole bunch of text all over it.
Right.
It's just got like
it's the artwork, and it's usually like some kind of exclusive Game Informer artwork.
Yeah.
I remember the Game Informer issue for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite Game Informer cover ever, because it had Kung Lao, my guy, like looking like he's never looked before. I've never seen him look that way before.
You're absolutely right. They do often get special exclusive covers. That happens a lot in Japan. There are so many gaming magazines over there, and the creators of like a certain game will draw like a special illustration just to be on the cover of that magazine.
Yeah.
And then later, like for example, that Akira Toriyama Dragon Quest art book we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
There were sections in there where it had like the cover of Jump Monthly, and it's like a special illustration for Dragon Quest VII.
Yeah, because that is his artwork, and it makes sense it would be in there.
Yeah. So yeah, Game Informer does often get really cool covers like that. Now sometimes they don't have like, sometimes it is just like key art, but it's cool because often it'll like wrap around to like the backside.
They'll
of the
do
magazine.
something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So Game Informer is basically asking the public, hey, you can support us directly now.
Mm-hmm.
Please do it.
Yeah.
I
think I keep derailing here.
It's okay.
But I think they probably are maybe seeing the writing on the wall with GameStop a little bit. Not ending their relationship or anything like that.
Well,
But they don't... the only way to be subscribed, being a GameStop member now, might not be what it used to be for them,
Being a GameStop member is not as appealing as it used to be.
Right. And
the deal keeps getting worse every day as a GameStop Power Pro member or whatever they call it now.
So they just need to get their magazine available another way other than just that.
Now, to be clear, GameStop owns Game Informer.
Right.
Game Informer is not a separate entity. Like, I understand they have kind of autonomy within GameStop,
Right.
But, like, if GameStop doesn't see the need for Game Informer... Let's be honest. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
That Game Informer still exists.
Yeah, right.
I am shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I am shocked that GameStop, knowing how much they cut costs as much as they can... is somehow still funding Game Informer.
Right.
But the fact that Game Informer is now saying subscribe to us directly means that probably if Game Informer doesn't get subscribers, its days are numbered.
Right. Yeah, of course.
GameStop is probably... Because GameStop is the one receiving this subscription money.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, they're the parent company, basically, of Game Informer.
If you like video games and like games journalism and want to help people doing a good job stay employed, you might want to consider subscribing to Game Informer. Because otherwise, if they don't really see a good turnout, I could see Game Informer being gone within a year or two.
Yeah.
Or just becoming online only.
Right.
Not having any physical
I think it will always exist as long as GameStop exists in some form.
Yeah.
But it might not be a magazine.
Right.
It might be a website or something.
I mean, they already have a website where they do post like daily news and things like that.
Right.
But I mean, their focus is still on the magazine itself.
Right.
So Charles Hart, associate editor at Game Informer, put out the call on Twitter for support for the magazine. He said, "This is finally live. It would really mean a ton to us all over at Game Informer if you threw us a subscription. Since this isn't a part of GameStop's reward program, this is the first time in the history of the magazine that we've been able to have direct financial support." So how much are they asking? Okay, so let's say they're charging $7 in store to buy the magazine.
Right.
Which is... Like I said, it feels like a lot, but that's actually the going rate for a magazine these days.
Maybe slightly less.
But Game Informer is offering two options for subscribing to the print magazine. For 1 year, which is 10 issues, because Game Informer is published every 5 weeks, not every 4 weeks, is $19.91.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's less than $2 an issue.
I mean, come on, guys. Go support the last video game magazine around.
Yeah. Or, if you want to save even more money, for 2 years, that's 20 issues, for $34.99.
Jeez. I'm surprised they can even swing that.
Well, yeah, that does make you question, whoa. Is that worth?
I mean, that's $1 and something.
It's like $1. So it's like $1.99 or $1.98 for the 1 year.
Right.
And then
It's like $1.30 or something.
No, it's not quite that low. It's like $1.90 or something like that.
I don't think that's right. But
oh no, $1.80 something maybe, because you're saving 20 cents an issue. It looks like that way.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, both very good deals. I decided to just go in for 1 year.
Okay.
It's like, you know what? I haven't been subscribed to Game Informer in a long time.
I'm just gonna do the 2 years, because I'll forget.
Well, see, I figured if I do 1 year, I end up giving them more money in the long term.
Yeah.
So
if that's what you're going for, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I would rather give them $2.50 more effectively to do 1 year at a time, if it means that they get to live. Their stay of execution is much further out than it needs to be. You know,
we want it to last as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. So, like, I used to be subscribed. There is another magazine in the U.S. that's ongoing right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a more recent magazine though. It's called Nintendo Force.
Right.
It sprung up in the aftermath of Nintendo Power's
I remember
demise.
This.
And I have the first 50 issues of Nintendo Force, and then I was like, okay, I gotta cut off my subscription. I don't have space for all these magazines.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah. So with Nintendo Power, though, I'm thinking, with Game Informer, I don't think I'm going to keep them. I think I'm going to read them, and I don't know, drop them off in a library donation bin or something.
Gotcha.
So that way they can get second life at like the bookstore or something like that.
Right.
Unless there's like maybe an issue I really like.
Right.
But like, I don't have a full run of Game Informer.
Yeah.
It's not issue number 1.
I have so many already.
Yeah.
Like 100 or something.
Yeah.
I feel like stupid not keeping these. If I renew my subscription.
I know what you mean. I feel the same. Like, it's hard for me to admit that I will not keep them.
Yeah.
But, like, I just can't.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to support them. At $2 an issue, I don't feel like I'm, like, throwing money away, per se, or anything.
Yeah.
But, I just want to help the team out. Actually dive into the magazine, spend some time with it every month.
Yeah.
Or every 5 weeks.
I mean, it does feel different when you're learning about a brand new game that was just announced.
Yeah.
And you're seeing screenshots and reading in a magazine and turning pages.
Yeah.
It's not the same when you're looking at it online.
Right.
It's definitely not the same when you're looking at it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. So I'm excited to have a new gaming magazine again in my life.
Yep.
And again, if you're interested, if you love games, if you love journalism, if you want, to see this thrive and continue, consider dropping Game Informer for $20.
Yeah.
Not even $20. 1991.
Yeah.
What a year.
What a weird. Why wouldn't they just go $19.99? They get 6 more cents per subscription.
I'm not really sure.
All right.
Yeah, they did the math and they did it a certain way.
All right.
But yeah, less than $2 an issue. Come on, do it.
GameStop does a lot of math that we still question.
Yes, they do. Game Informer. Hope they're around for a long time.
Yep. Kudos to Game Informer.
And I'm glad GameStop, instead of like
cutting them off,
like I said, okay,
let's
give
try
you a chance.
Yeah.
Let's try to see it. Let's see if people will subscribe on their own.
Yeah.
So I hope the drive, the effort that people, because like word has gotten out about this. Like I saw posts on like forums like, hey, Game Informer, you can unsubscribe. Come on, do it.
Yeah. People are gonna try.
Yeah, like not just the people that work there, but like people that like this kind of thing. They want it to continue.
Yeah. I think there's an appetite.
Yeah.
I do.
I think it can be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
But like if the parent company wants like big profit.
Yeah. It's assumed that you're right. You're right about that. It's gonna work out in the beginning, and then they're gonna say, oh, and then the parent company is gonna start applying pressure and expectations that the appetite can't support.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it's going to go down. Yep.
So, I mean, every year there's probably... What will happen is, like, these initial numbers will be good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, great. We've just locked in 10,000 people for this subscription service. Awesome. Right. And now it's next year. Okay, well, the number has to go up.
Yeah.
Naturally, you're going to have some fall off. People will forget to renew or whatever.
Right.
And then you got to sign up again. And so you got to get those people to come back. And then on top of that, you need more. Because the parent company is like, we need growth.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's perfectly sustainable, if it's not generating enough...
Well, they have to justify their own jobs.
Right.
So they're going to,
it's their jobs to be like, we need more.
Right. Well, they don't look like...
Do it or get fired.
They look like they're just sitting on their butt all day if they don't show growth.
Right.
It's like, well, what are you doing then?
Yeah.
So they have to justify their own existence.
So they justify their own existence by ending the existence of something else.
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just showing you how.
No, I know. Yeah, that's how it works, especially when you're a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, our final story should be pretty quick. We're talking about Dead Space.
Yes.
So if you don't know what Dead Space is, it's not quite retro yet, but I mean, we're going back to the PS3 era. PS3, Xbox 360 era. There's this game came out, developed or published by EA. Mm-hmm. The original developer is escaping me.
It was like Insomniac?
No, it wasn't Insomniac.
No. It was
It's okay. The original developer, I want to say they were somewhere like Israel or something. I don't know why I want to say that.
We have to look it up. I don't want to just
doesn't matter. But
spew misinformation.
So it's a survival horror game.
Yeah,
and it got enormously popular.
It's a sci-fi survival horror in space,
set on like a derelict like space station.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent somewhat of like Alien,
right?
And the kind of tone,
but with the atmosphere of like Silent Hill or Resident Evil.
Yeah. Old school Resident Evil.
Right.
Not the action-oriented
Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4.
Right. So they made a sequel, Dead Space 2, another big hit success. Then Dead Space 3 came out, and they kind of put aside the survival horror to make it a co-op action game, more in the vein of like Resident Evil 5.
Right, yeah. We've seen it before.
And the series basically went dark after that.
Yeah.
That third game wasn't as big of a success as they were maybe hoping for. Mm-hmm. They were trying to expand it out of the single-player genre.
I mean, I don't think Resident Evil 5 was as big as 4 was.
No, definitely not. That's what happens when you kind of stray from your roots a little too much.
Yeah.
So the series went dark for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then last year, I think it was January of 2023, Motive Studio, which is one of EA's internal studios, released their from the ground up remake of Dead Space. And the response from critic and fans alike was really overwhelmingly positive. Mm-hmm. People really liked it. It topped the charts for the month. The NPD sales charts in January, which is crazy because the game came out I think right at the end of the month, so it sold a lot of copies front loaded. Mm-hmm. But then sales seemingly fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
And so no one has said anything about Dead Space since, in any official capacity.
Right.
But industry insider Jeff Grubb, we're fast forwarding now to last week on April 10th. He announced on his podcast that a Dead Space 2 remake was being considered as a new project at Motive. But the EA wanted them to focus on other projects instead, as EA considered the remake sales lackluster.
Some live service game, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. They're like, single player game with no legs?
Right.
Okay, we'll forget it.
Right.
No doubt they made money.
Yeah.
They more than broke even.
Yeah.
But that's not enough anymore.
No. It didn't do as good as their other game that was a live service game
well, the FIFA game,
right?
We just repackage the same game every year, and it generates $1 billion. Why don't you make one of those?
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be surprised if they are working on a sports game.
Well, so there actually is a little bit of information about what they are doing, but we'll get there in a moment. So later that same day, Kat Bailey, reporter at IGN, received a comment from EA on Jeff Grubb's reporting. So she inquired with EA and said, hey, is this true?
Right.
And so EA said, we don't normally comment on rumors, but there is no validity to this story.
So that's not a no.
So then there was like a whiplash. So people took Jeff Grubb's original story as being Dead Space is dead.
Yeah.
Canceled. A second remake got canceled.
Right.
So then they hear this story where, EA says it's nothing.
Yeah.
And then so fans are like, Dead Space 2 isn't canceled, guys.
Yeah, that does not equate.
So yeah, they inferred the thing that didn't really need to be inferred. But, that isn't true.
Yeah.
That's not what EA said.
Yeah.
EA didn't say Dead Space 2 is happening.
Yeah, that's not... They said that they don't... What was her original comment exactly?
No. EA's comment to her was, we don't normally comment on rumors.
Yeah, but what was her question verbatim?
I don't have her question verbatim, but she basically asked EA... She sent an inquiry to EA if Jeff Grubb's story was true.
Okay. They said there's no validity to what he said.
Right.
And
well, that's because Jeff Grubb's statement or his announcement, and it wasn't really an announcement, it was more of a statement he made on his podcast,
right,
wasn't entirely 100% what happened.
Yeah.
So we'll get a little more into that in a second. So fans started, like I said, they started celebrating again. They're like, now it's not canceled. Things are back on.
Right. Dead Space 2 remake is on.
But the celebration didn't last long because a few hours later, maybe one of the most trusted names in games journalism, Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, cleared the air and laid out the facts.
I wouldn't call him that.
At this point, he really is. Though.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he...
If Taylor tells me he is, I'll believe that.
I mean, like, he doesn't come out with a story unless, like, everything is lined up. He works for Bloomberg now.
Oh, okay.
He works for a real outlet. Okay, so Motive, the studio that remade the first remake, was hoping to make a new Dead Space game, not another remake. Though they did also consider a remake of the second Dead Space game.
Mm-hmm.
EA did not greenlight any of Motive's new ideas for a Dead Space game. So Motive was like, hey, let's do a Dead Space 2 remake. Hey, let's make an all-new Dead Space game that's not a remake.
Yeah.
And EA said, no, we're going to work on something else. So what is Motive actually working on now? They're working on the single-player campaign for an upcoming Battlefield game. I mean, at least it's single-player.
Yeah.
But it's just it's part of a live service game.
Yeah.
And then they are also working on EA's Iron Man game. Another Marvel game.
Yeah, great. We need more Marvel.
So, and it's funny because we recently heard from EA that said that they're pivoting away from working on other companies' IPs.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, basically,
interesting.
They're going to be working. I think these Iron Man and like they apparently have other Star Wars games in development. I think they're like too far in development for them to be like, we're just going to scrap that and stop. But I imagine after they do these Iron Man and Star Wars games that they have cooking, they might be, truly moving on from working on like Disney stuff.
Got you.
Yeah.
What they said is not going to apply to Madden and all that kind of stuff.
No. I mean, that's basically their brand at this point. So in reality, Jeff Grubb wasn't wrong. He just didn't have all of his facts lined up. So he had heard from someone at the studio that they were maybe going to make a Dead Space 2. But that wasn't the whole story. So the lesson here is you can't just trust everything every insider says. No. Especially he didn't like come out and write an article about it. Right. It was like something he mentioned in passing.
Right. So it was probably conversational, lined with uhs and ums, much like we do. So I mean, I don't get everything right. If I wrote what I'm saying, it would be like pristine.
Right.
But I say a bunch of stuff that's wrong
Yeah.
all the time, and it's because it's just we're recording.
But you would be surprised the amount of vitriol he got. Like,
yeah.
people were like,
I can imagine.
Jeff Grubb doesn't know anything. He's always wrong about everything.
Yeah.
Why are we still listening to this guy?
Yeah, this guy's a clown.
Yeah. But I mean, literally, without him mentioning that in passing on his podcast,
Yeah.
we
wouldn't have got any of this
whole huge
information.
story out of it.
Right.
Now the fans know. Don't get your hopes up for another Dead Space game anytime soon. That's not happening.
But you're talking about the vitriol. Yeah, I see that kind of thing all the time. It's crazy. Just because a guy he didn't commit some immoral act. He just spoke something that wasn't the whole truth, based on some insider info that he got.
Yeah,
and that's come on.
Be nice, people. Okay,
yeah,
he's just a person. He's giving you little morsels. Like, just take it. Be grateful.
Yeah, and what he said wasn't false.
No, it wasn't.
But I don't know where I was going with this, but it annoys me.
Yeah.
Kind of like I feel shame a little bit for
your people.
My people. Yeah.
Why are you behaving that way?
Yeah. I don't know. Just, but yeah, you're right. The moral of the story is that, one phrase we see a lot in journalism is, what is it? Anonymous sources?
An anonymous source.
An anonymous source says, but they figure if they can say an insider, that gives it more credibility. Mm. And I'm not saying it doesn't.
Right.
But that does not make it infallible.
Right.
It's like, and this is an example.
I mean, the end result is that basically Jeff Grubb said, hey, Dead Space 2, or Dead Space is done.
Right.
Again.
Right.
Okay, and at the end of the day, that's still the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it was a Dead Space 2 or a new Dead Space game, what does it really matter? None of them happened.
Yeah.
Dead Space is dead.
Right.
Again.
Right. Well, I'm not going to end it.
Okay, fine.
Because I got something else I got to say.
All right.
That is not necessarily true. EA Motive still owns the IP, or no, EA owns the IP.
EA owns it.
That doesn't mean that IP will never be touched again.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's effectively, if the studio who just made a Dead Space game is not working on a Dead Space game again,
that means that okay, so it's true to say that a Dead Space game is not in development currently. Yeah, that's true, but does that make it dead?
Well, Dead Space was like dead, quiet, on ice, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, in vitro.
I mean, it was dormant.
Yeah.
Like, the IP was in a state of dormant.
Okay, yeah. All right. It's frozen.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, that's correct. End transmission.